Jake, what are you bringing to the pod today?
That anyone who uses AI to write captions on Instagrams is a fucking idiot.
Wow,
Yeah, slightly aggressive, but you're
it's an
right.
aggressive, big statement to open the pod. My man.
It is. It is. But they are idiots. It's absolutely horrendous.
Why?
It's so visible, but it's so obvious that it's AI. And I don't know about anyone else, but I look at it and I think like that guy's actually got no brain because you
Hmm.
have to like you're actually outsourcing your ability to communicate. You just write it instead of speaking.
Hmm.
It
Yeah.
actively makes me angry.
Why does it make you angry though? Because I
Um,
agree it's silly, but like, where does the anger come from? Why do you think it's wrong?
um, Then I also think, well, I only see it from business owners as well at the same time. I think
Hmm.
if that's what you do when you market your product or service is probably a bit shit as well.
Hmm.
It's like you're not even there's no effort to try and learn the skill.
Well, it's one thing having an idea or having a discussion using AI to come up with a final product or an idea that you're going to talk about, but then just copy and pasting that as a post or as a caption, at least put it into your own words or try
Hmm.
and put it into your own words or your own sort of perspective. It's just a bit lazy, isn't
Yeah.
it, really?
Yeah. Well, because then as well, it's like if you ever have that in a passing conversation, you're not going to remember what ChatGPT told you to say on that post when you talked about the exact same topic.
Hmm.
You don't actually have it in your locker.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think there's one of the problems fundamentally. I think there's two problems with what you said is you can't agree. Sorry, you can't understand what you're actually writing because you haven't written it. Like part of the whole reason of writing, one of the main benefits of writing creatively, especially from a marketing perspective, is that you have to, obviously there's an output that is beneficial to whatever it is you're trying to do, but the act of doing it, and if you're doing it well, it actually deepens your own understanding of what you're talking about.
Agreed.
Because this is the beauty of writing is you're not writing it for you, you're writing it for someone else. So if you're writing for someone else, you have to think about all of the different perspectives and the potential arguments that people are going to come back with and how they're going to feel and what they're going to think when they read it. And so you have to almost, whatever it is you're writing about, have to become a master of the thing you're writing about before you can finish the piece. Whereas if you just get AI to write it, you miss that whole thing. Um, the second thing that I think is shit about that is everyone can tell, and you just look like a bit of a
Yeah.
gimp. You know what I mean? Like
It's
it doesn't feel right. It feels wrong.
There's no
yeah.
personality to it, is there?
Yeah.
No,
Like,
not at all. And the things that you see as well, no one's ever going to say it. Like, it's always like, you're not lazy, you're this. It's like,
Yeah.
who fucking on earth in real life is ever going to say that?
It's the triple staccatos for me where it's like not this, but that. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
shut up. Sh
Well,
like it sounded good when ChatGPT first came out because it was like well written, but now it's like
the same
it,
thing
it
over and
just
over.
just makes you feel sick.
yeah.
It's like your brain has auto detect mode and just goes, get that the fuck away from me. Like as soon like you can so as soon as you see a dash, it's just like no, scroll past.
Yeah, 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 yeah. But I think that's the issue, like just the world now, isn't it? Like people's got no personalities. People are the same in every single way, shape, and form.
We can
Like,
speak about should we speak about Alex's post?
yeah, like, do you know what I mean? It's like people like just copy things because they don't know what to say. But I think what you said before, in regards like they don't understand. Nobody understands. People just use passages that they've heard and act like they understand.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or other people's content.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just in general. So, for example, like we spoke about getting Leon, didn't we? Who's like the quote unquote like the glue guy kind of thing. And it's like I was speaking to Mike about this morning. Me and him would disagree on things,
Yeah.
but we've both got our own opinion based off
Mhm.
what we know, and that's a good thing because then we'll both have a conversation, but we won't hate each other at the end of it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But you because you've actually got a brain and thought for yourself, you've got something to stand
Yeah,
upon.
yeah.
Hmm.
And he believes in his beliefs, and I believe in mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, so for any listeners that are unaware of this, is one of my old friends that used to work in the same gym as me and Ali. For some reason, thought it would be just an amazing idea to literally take the transcript of one of my videos and record it word for word and post it and like just like pretend that he came up with it. Which, to be honest, like people seem to think that I cared that he stole the post. I don't give a fuck about that. I think fundamentally it's just weird and wrong. Why why would you even do that? Like I think the not like it's wrong as in it's offensive, but more so just like why would you think that that's possibly even like a good idea? Like in what way is that going to be beneficial to your life whatsoever? And so the problem fundamentally is like maybe on social media this is more apparent, but because people can't think for themselves, on social media might be a fear element to it. So you don't want to present what you actually think in case you get attacked for it. So you want to present a different version of you so that if that version of you gets attacked, it's not truly you. I can sort of understand that on social media. But in general, not just on social media, but all throughout life, is there are so many people that can't actually think for themselves and they just absorb and swallow whole other people's opinions, beliefs, ideas, and just assume that they're true without actually thinking about anything. So like Ali, you taught me so much stuff about training. But the stuff that you say now that I don't agree with, and if we have a discussion about it, I would like we'll have a conversation and we'll probably get to some level of the truth. But we won't agree 100% fully, like you just mentioned there with Lee, because I can think for myself, you can think for yourself. We're
Yeah.
allowed to differ on opinions. Whereas I'm sure that there's some of the people that you have mentored over the years that won't actually have built the capacity to be able to think for themselves. So they will just literally say whatever you say.
Yeah, I think that the issue is the so you can tell if someone's really invested or not by the questions that they ask after when you say things. So if I make a statement and they don't question the statement that I make, they're not listening
Yeah.
or they don't understand. Because I can say whatever the fuck I want. Yeah, and you're like, no, for example, I went, if you do a preacher kill, it's really, really good for your soleus.
Do you know, this is so funny, right? Because I recorded a reel about this the other day and then didn't post it. But I basically said, "Hey guys, your understanding of sorry, your estimation of your own fitness knowledge is ridiculously so much higher than it should be, and I'm going to prove it to you." The other day, I saw influencer talking about. I just made some shit up. I made a muscle called like the rectus anterior or something. It's like, and he said in the video that you've got to only train it in the short position. Otherwise, if you train it in the long position, it's not going to grow. And I was like, that's completely fundamentally wrong, and blah blah blah. And just went on this whole rant, and then went, and that's a perfect example of someone in fitness absolutely taking a piss out of you because I've just made the whole thing up. There's not even a muscle called the rectus anterior. And if I would have posted that, there fully would have been people that would have watched the whole video and then believed what I've said because I've said it with such conviction, but it doesn't even exist, and no one would know apart from people who actually understand fitness.
But the first thing I'll do, so like, there's always smarter people, isn't it? So like, if you look at the muscles in the body, there's shitloads. So the first
Hmm.
thing I'll do is fucking Google it.
Hmm.
That was my first actually see does it actually, but the people they've got an inability to to try and find what they want to know. They just expect everything to be told to them.
Hmm.
So it's like you three, for example, like I work with all three of you, and the beauty about working with you three is you all question me. Yeah, well, why? Why do you believe that? Like, well, what's the thought process behind that? Do you know what I mean? So you want a deeper understanding about how I'm thinking, coming to them conclusions. So, for example, like
Hmm.
we spoke about the training thing last week, didn't we? And like, you all may agree, you all may disagree, but me over the 15 years of doing this, I've come to this conclusion now where I think the recovery element is just as important as the training element. And something that we all neglect and we all focus on volume. And by the way, no one talk about copy and stuff. It was Joe Jeffrey's podcast that fucking really lit a fire at my arse when it comes to this because it was like, that's the biggest thing I've heard someone say that no one's ever spoke about. It's like we're
Hmm.
all about how much volume can we handle, what's the best rep range, do we leave one rep in reserve or do we go to fair? But no one talks about how do we master sleep. And
Hmm.
nobody gets anal about sleep or anal about making sure there's no light going into the bedroom. You know, like
Hmm.
we're looking at our Google Sheets like it's fucking the God. Like that's what's going to give us the bicep growth. Speaking about myself here, but we're not actually focusing on the other stuff that actually really matters as well. And there's nothing wrong with using people who you respect as inspiration. But what Alex done to you was just copying. So if he would have said something on the same lines, I went, Judgment, right, my mate Isaac said this, and I'm going to give my own perception on what he said now, and then just went off in his own way, speaking about something similar. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. He's using you as motivation. You maybe triggered something within your brain that he wants to talk about. Whereas if you just copy someone word for word, it's not thinking.
Exactly. Exactly. I agree completely. Even if you would have not credited me at all and just said, use the exact same hook
Mm.
and the exact same body of the video and the same idea, but just didn't say the exact same words. Sound?
It's
I'm going,
fucking
fuck.
ridiculous.
What? Even that's fine, but don't say the exact words, bro. Like, what
Now
are you doing?
the best was it the finger click or the clap?
Yeah.
That was the best. It's like you didn't have to do that.
Like you even used the same analogy. But you know, one of the best comments on that. So for listeners, my analogy was, if I clap my hands and you were talking about positive and negative reinforcement. If I clap my hands and £1 million landed on the table, I'll keep clapping my hands because I'm being positively reinforced for clapping my hands. And in his video, he said, if I clapped my hands and 100 grand landed on the table. And remember, you remember Lee Driscoll?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
you know his Mrs. Laurie. Well, she commented on it. The fact that you said 1 million and he said 100 grand actually tells me a lot.
yeah. Mate, I'd love to clap my hand and get 100 grand.
Yeah, that'd be fucking
I'd
boss,
be
that.
fucking clapping all
Imagine.
day long.
Right.
Don't give a shit.
Okay.
Don't give a shit how fucking lazy I am, but I'll just clap.
Yeah. So, okay. So, Jake, you think that people who use AI are lazy? What should they do instead? Let me rephrase that.
I was gonna say definitely rephrase that statement.
People who use AI to generate written captions on Instagram specifically are lazy. What should they do instead?
Go learn more about your craft and whatever you learn, sit in act this because this is another problem with people. Sit in silence with zero distractions and write about it and just let your brain wander.
Nice.
That's it. And then write about it, come to conclusions, get a conclusion, and when I say learn about it, pay someone to learn from. So if you're a coach and you're trying to learn, you go to Ali and you specifically then go to him and you ask him questions that you come to conclusions on.
Joe, people need to do, mate, just to caveat what you just said then as well.
Yeah.
People need to learn what they don't know.
Yeah, of
People
course.
don't know what they don't know. That's the worst part is now. Like people are just living in this world of I don't know what I don't know, so I don't know how to get my clients a result if it's all about the coaching industry.
Mhm.
Well, at least with it, no, at least when you're around like smart people, like for example, you three have always covered you with smart people. I've always been around smart people than myself. I'm constantly reminded of what I don't know all the time because the human body is it's just a fucking anomaly in regards to there's so many levels that we don't fully understand everything. Do you know what I mean? Like we don't understand the brain fully, so you can't learn everything.
Mhm.
So when you're around people and they'll say something, you go, "Fuck's sake!" I always reference Austin Stout on this here, but me and Nathan had to call him a year ago. Um, by the way, expensive for a call, right? So we're talking about this client, and long story short, we just don't think this client will stick to the diet. But anyway, regardless of what we're talking about now, this is the statement he made. He went, sometimes you can push the body that much that they will not respond to the actions that you're giving them because they're holding on to trauma. And until they deal with that trauma from a psychological element of things, their body will not respond how it should respond. We're not psychologists. So how the fuck does a PT get someone to lose weight when they've been through trauma? Do you know what I mean? Like there's
Mhm.
another level to this. There's another level of just calories in versus calories out. We've now got to think of the psychological elements of how people think, and
Mhm.
that can impact fat loss.
Mhm.
And it's like, and people go, yeah, I know that. It's like, you don't. You do not know that because you do not know how that works. You may think that makes sense, but you don't know. Because one of
Yeah.
the things that get pissed off of when people you're talking about, people go, yeah, got yeah. It's like you fucking don't, because I don't know it. And you're trying to learn from me.
I think though, at a certain point though, I think an important part of seeking knowledge is recognizing what knowledge to not seek.
Yeah.
Agreed. Agreed.
So, for example, we could go and learn about how trauma impacts fat loss. What a insanely bad waste of time that would be, because there might be 1 out of 1,000 clients that that applies to.
True. But I also think on the caveat that it's also being aware that there's more to it. So you can say
Yes.
that now because you don't think that is relevant for you to learn.
Yeah, yeah.
But until you're aware of things, you can't say if it's relevant or not for you to learn. Because, mate, let's be honest, it all comes back to the basics anyway. Eat
Yeah, yeah,
well,
for sure.
eat towards your goals, train fucking hard, get your sleep
Yeah.
in, and try not
Mhm.
to let other shit affect you.
Yes. Yes.
Like that's what it all
Absolutely.
comes down to. But I think you said this, it might have been 2 weeks ago, mate. It was like in regards to you need to learn the fucking complexities to then bring you back to the basics.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. 100%. Do you know one thing I was going to say before when you mentioned when you're saying things and people um they just nod and can't ask a question? I think fundamentally it's not necessarily always because they're not listening, but I think often it's because they don't have a depth, a foundational level of knowledge that's deep and wide enough to be able to even ask a question that's relevant. So, for example, if you made a statement about training that triggered a curiosity for me about something to do with biochemistry, I will be able to ask a question about biochemistry. If I didn't have a deep understanding, found not high level, but foundational understanding of biochemistry, I wouldn't be able to even fathom that question. It wouldn't be a thing because I can only see the top of the iceberg. So everything underneath it, I can't, it's not even visible to me. So therefore there's no question that I can ask.
There is. Can you explain that again, please? Because I don't understand it.
Yeah, but let's say, for example, you were to say, um, okay, recovery is just as important as training.
Yes.
I could go, yeah, that makes sense.
Or you could go, why do you think that?
Yeah. And then you could continue to say surface level answers, but I wouldn't be able to challenge you or ask a challenging question if I didn't have a deep enough understanding of those variables.
True. But at the same time, you could still invest more into the answer that I'm giving. So
I
you
think
can
that,
you can build more of a understanding by asking questions. What my point of what I'm trying to say is, you go,
Mhm.
do you understand it? And you all nod their head as if they understand it.
Ah, okay,
Do you know what I
okay.
mean? It's
that's
like
the difference, isn't it?
Yeah,
yeah, they
yeah.
don't. It's like for example, like Liz done a call on Sunday, and it was a good call. And then she goes, "Any questions?" And nobody asked a question. And in my head, I'm thinking, how can you not have questions? She's a psychologist. It's like I don't even care if it's not about the thing itself. You must have questions. It's like I struggle to understand how if I've got someone in front of me, so for example, like Joe Jeffrey's coming on in Education on 25th, right? Nobody asks a question because it's not about me. This one will say it's not about me and Nathan this call, but Joe, if no one's asked a question, I've got fucking 20 lined up in my head.
Yes.
I've got
100%.
fuck there's shit I want to know that I
Mhm.
think I know, but I want confirmed by someone else who I respect.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So it's like I
100%.
don't know how you don't have questions because all I do is have questions in this job.
It's
Yes.
easier for people to take it as gospel and just accept what's been said as a statement and move on and go, such body said that, so that's right, and take that. Similar to the AI thing, isn't it? I've got using it for captions or for content or using someone else's stuff. It's okay, someone else has said that. That sounds correct. I'm going to use that and I'm just going to copy it.
Yeah.
Whereas a smart person or someone who actually wants to master it or become better at their craft would say, okay, they'll either take that, go away and think about it, or they'll ask a question and they'll want to know a little bit more, won't they?
Yeah.
Yes, that is literally the perfect analogy. It's exactly the same thing. It's just like you want the easy option. So you want to try and you want to put this prompt into AI, get an answer that you can just use as your own. It's the same thing. I want to pay Ali for A in education. I'm going to take what he said and I'm just going to say that to my clients and then I'm going to get paid loads of money and blah, blah, blah. It's just like, fuck off.
You
There's
know,
not
me
massively
and
enough.
Nathan are right. Just so that we are right. We're right
Well,
all
yeah,
the time, 100%. We're
100%.
never wrong. Pay for
Disclaimer.
the course. Give us the money, please.
So, but yeah, and you could do that and you could get far, but you'll never be able to master fitness if
You'll
that's
never
all
have
you
a
do.
conversation about it,
Yeah.
mate.
Exactly. And do you remember? Do you remember when we trained together for like 6 months or whenever it was? The fucking volume of questions that I asked you
Yeah,
when we were
yeah,
training.
yeah.
It
But
was
mate,
like it got
that's
to
how
the
we
point
got on,
where
though.
exactly it got to a point though where like I'm really okay with asking questions, but it got to a point where I remember asking such a ridiculous volume of questions. I was like, fuck me. Like, am I annoying him right now? Like, this is
No?
ridiculous. Just talking about asking him 500 questions a session. I remember one time I messaged you randomly on a Saturday morning and I said, um, if you did the 24-hour fast, what would be the best type of meal to break it? And you just replied and said, that's the vaguest question ever.
But the thing is, though, it's like, Joe, you really love what we do.
Yeah, you have to
You
be obsessed with acquiring the knowledge.
you thrive on
Yeah.
getting asked questions like that because the beauty about when people like yourself and Jake ask questions is sometimes you ask a question, oh fuck, I've not thought about that in fucking about 2 years.
Yeah.
And it's like fuck, I can't recall that to the top of my brain as quick as what I'd like to be, so I have to go back and learn about it a little bit. Like it's really cool. But again, mate, I think the difference is within this industry now is like as you've both said, it's like AI is so efficient. Type it in. Like we all use it, mate. I use it to buy this computer monitor.
Hmm.
I've got these settings I've got these settings that I want to work from. Which is
Hmm.
the best one for me? Humans aren't like that. That's the issue we've got with AI. Humans have something called emotions, which is nothing that a computer can ever predict. So again, when you get back to the original point, like typing captions into AI, the whole point of a caption is to explain what you're saying within the post that you're doing, so you get an emotional reaction from a client or a potential client for them to go, I agree, I disagree, I like what this person says, this person's a cunt. To get some reaction, if a computer's just doing it, and you can, and if we get, as we all aware, when there's a dash now, fucking didn't edit that dickhead, did you? Because we're all fucking aware it's fucking Canva, ChatGPT. It's like the emotion just goes.
I agree with everything that's been said. However, I'm going to add a caveat is once you've built the foundational knowledge, you can actually leverage AI quite well. So just as a general overview, is I have a process now where everything that I say on a Fathom call gets transcribed into a real script and it sounds exactly like me. It writes it exactly like me. It's speaking exactly the way I would speak to the people and to the pain points that our audience have with the level of knowledge that I have because it's got such a ridiculously rich database of what I've actually said. And so it's actually highly accurate and it is exactly the same as what I would do. So once you get to a certain point of foundational understanding, you can utilize that and it can increase leverage as long as you build a system in a way where you're not um, relying upon it to a point where it loses the essence of what you actually are going to say.
That
But what
backs
you
up
just
the
said, sorry, Jake, go on.
that backs up the point of you've took the time to understand that AI is a tool that you can use. You're going to put time and effort towards it, and you've now got the reward. Whereas someone who just goes, I'm going to make a post on this, do it for me. And yes, they're just the most generic, basic, boring fucking shit ever. Whereas,
Mhm.
like you said there, you've took the time to understand this and use it as a tool within your business, and actually now know and have spent the time putting in that knowledge that you actually get something good back from it. So you probably asked the questions and done the work that's required. Same as like we've just been talking about with education or training or whatever it may be. It still backs up the point that I think like what Jake was saying, the bit that annoys him is that it's people who just want the easy answer, the
Mm.
least amount of friction, the least amount of time. The same again with content, copying other people. You know that if you follow a certain person, what they put out is probably going to be right because they've done that. And it's very easy just to go, I'll take that. I'm going to use that because it'll make me look like I'm the same as them. But it's
Yeah.
not the case.
Yeah, I think fundamentally that's what we all dislike about it is people looking for easy shit.
Yes. We've said one caveat loads today. One caveat though. One
17
thing.
caveats later. Right, we should move on to the next point. Ali, you
Mhm.
have
Okay.
transformed your opinion of training in the last 2 weeks, and you've seen great results from it so far. And you had an epiphany this morning. Tell us.
Yeah, so I use two apps every morning. So I use an app called State, which is a breathing app, and I use the Feel Calm set. And I probably do it 1 to 2 times a day. And it's cool, mate, because you get to say if it's easy or hard. So if it's easy, you get to get better at it. But I can't get
Mhm.
past this level at the moment. Just really, really struggle to get past this level at the moment. Um, and then use Wake Up app, which I think you recommended to me as ago, might have been Jake, anyone. Either you two recommended me to because you sent me the link for it. And basically, I was going through the meditating, and he made a statement in regards to something. I'm going to paraphrase this awfully now. Okay, right. Something in regards to whatever you see as it within your conscious mind, whatever you hear within your conscious mind, that's where you need to be because that's where reality is. Something like that. Okay, or something on them lines. And I was thinking, I was sitting there thinking, I couldn't understand exactly what he was saying for ages. And then I thought, then we've got a friend called Amy who's an NLP coach and she speaks about the subconscious all the time, or the unconscious, can't remember which she calls it one of them. The other one she doesn't agree with. And then I was thinking, that's what a thought is. Like a thought is just like your brain just giving you some information that you don't want to know, and then you focus on it, but you focus on it on a reality that you think is true, but it might not be true, and that's not beneficial at all. Whereas if you are constantly in your conscious mind and you're looking at what's reality in front of you, you can't then think of things that are going to happen when you can't predict what's going to happen anyway. You can only focus on the present.
Mhm.
And then then I had this 50 moments to message the group, and it didn't make any sense in the group because they didn't have a fucking clue what I meant, but I knew they would eventually get to what I meant because they'll ask me another
Yeah.
question because they think.
Let me read out what you so it's 7:09 a.m. this morning. Guys, I've had an epiphany today, meditating, full stop. The full stop's important. If someone puts a full stop in a text, it's important. Like the whole point is to be conscious, is to be in a conscious state of mind, full stop. End of message. That was it. I finished a load of back-to-back PT sessions. My brain was fried, and then I opened WhatsApp and was like, "What? And what are you talking about?" But I'm so happy that you've come across this moment. Um, the the next thing that you will notice, because this is how that app works, which is why it's so fucking amazing, is because he says things that bend your mind for a while, and then all of a sudden the penny drops. And the next thing you'll notice is that your thoughts, in and of themselves, are exactly the same as your perception of a phone, a physical object, the weather, an emotion, a thought, a physical object. Anything is precisely the same as it's the same thing.
Yeah.
There's no differentiation. And so then when you have the ability to place awareness on that, that's like the first stage. But then
Mhm.
the next stage, which blows your brain off, is your ability to put your awareness on the fact that you have consciousness. And then
Yeah.
that just blows your head off. And then it's like, it's like, oh my God, life doesn't exist and it's all an illusion.
Mhm.
But tell everyone about your resting heart rate and shit.
So as I said, like I done a story about this yesterday. So I've really like the last, I don't know, month, 3 weeks, last 3 weeks I've really dedicated myself to getting outside. My dog can be let off lead now, so that just puts me in a happy place anyway. Um Meditating and breath work. And a month ago my resting heart rate was 75, which isn't great, but I am on prep. Stress is high. Like training's hard, like my body's losing body fat. So if anything, you'll think like HRV, resting heart rate would either stay around that or probably go even higher and then HRV score lower. But it's now 58 beats per minute, my heart rate. My HRV score is around about 40 to 50, where it was 17. And by the way, I take HRV with a pinch of salt. Like, I do, I take that with a pinch of salt. But I've been going to bed with an eye mask, all these little things that, because for some reason, how they fit me blinds, and Jake is supposed to come and help me fix my blinds, but how they fit me blinds, they fitted them away from the window. So there's a gap that like the sunlight comes in.
Mhm.
So I bought an eye mask, and like I've really paid attention to this recovery element of things, and like my statement last week in regards to you don't need to train with aggression. Like I still stand by that. I think you should train within a composed state so you're actually very aware of what you're trying to do within the gym. And I think that's something what we all forget about because we look at any other sport. If we look at football, if we look at tennis, if we look at golf, anything where there's a skill set of movement to it, when we're still having to think about what we're trying to do. So, for example, in golf, you're trying to hit a fade, you're trying to hit a draw, you're trying to hit a low, you're trying to hit a high. When you're in football, what type of angulation you're trying to put on this pass, sorry. If you're trying to shoot, you're trying to hit high, low. Do you want it to skid off the surface? Do you want it to not? Do you get what I'm trying to say? So there's always a thought into what we're doing, but when people train, they just let go of thought and just go.
Mhm.
So where's the skill set then if you're just not thinking? You're just moving and just hoping your body's going to do things. There's no technique to what you're trying to do. And if we look at moving load and what we're trying to do when it comes to hypertrophy itself, line of force, we're trying to get the joint that we're trying to train as far away from that line of force as possible to create as much torque and demand at that joint. So then that muscle that moves that joint is then working hard. So we're trying to be as inefficient as we can be to some degree when it comes to training, when it comes to hypertrophy. That's a lot of thought because the body wants to do the opposing to that. The body wants to make itself a very efficient person. It wants to make sure it makes this lift as easy as possible. When it comes to hypertrophy, we're not trying to do that. So again, if we're in more in a composed state, if we're in a more of a calm state, and by the way, this doesn't mean train like a pussy. Like this means like me and Jake trained together, and I fucking failed on a reverse band hack squat on Saturday, which was not supposed to do. But I definitely thought I had the rep and just didn't have the rep. It's like you still train hard, but you don't scream, shout, bang your head against the machine, throw your fucking tripod across the gym and all this shit, which is just pathetic. And it's like no benefits at all, unless you're a strong man and or a power lift, and you've got that one lift, and you need to fuck yourself up for that one lift to make sure you get it, then by all means, slap yourself in the face, think of something horrendously bad, whatever you need to do to get yourself in that state, do it. But if your goal is to build muscle over a continuous period of time, no need.
Yeah, no, I agree. Two things that I would say though is you can do that because you are extremely skilled at training. Other people who are less skilled don't even know what failure feels like yet. So if you
Yes.
are within the first 5 years of training, ignore everything Ali's just said, train as hard as you can. And then
Ooh.
second, you said, eh,
I wouldn't
okay,
say five. I'd say learn to train as hard as you can, then pull back however long that time frame takes.
yeah, 5 years. It doesn't need to be a hard, fast rule. I think most people, it might be 10 years. Maybe if you're working
Most
with,
people don't have a fucking clue, mate.
yeah, yeah. If you're working with a coach who's good and you're training hard and you're training hard and you're training well, then it might be 1 year. Either way, I think the more interesting point is you said that it doesn't take skill to not think about it. I would suggest that the more skilled you are, the less you think about it. So if you think about
Yeah.
Messi playing football, he doesn't think about whether he's trying to skim the ball or he's trying to whip it around or whatever. I think the less skilled you are, the more you have to think about it.
Um,
And the more skilled you are, the more it's instinctual. So I don't have to think about creating moment times at my quads, whereas 4 years ago I probably did.
Because that's a
you,
repetition thing, isn't it? The
but you
more you
will
use
do to some
something.
degree. As like you just might, you will do. Like you will think about it. You just won't be aware that you're thinking about it. Whereas
Yeah.
if you're not thinking about it and you're just literally thinking, I need to get this load up. There's no ability to put your body in whatever position that you need to put it in. So, for example, we've all seen this, right? I am going to call females out here. So this is not me being sexist. This is just what I've seen in the gym. What you do is you go on the hack squat, right? And you'll put your feet maybe 2 inches away from the bottom of the platform. And then as the load gets heavier and heavier and heavier, them feet climb up the platform.
Hmm.
So from your warm-up set to your actual working set, you're not doing the same exercise
Hmm.
because all you want to do is shift the load. The skill set would be keep your feet as low as possible on it and have the highest amount of load that you could do. That's going to make that the biggest challenge, the knee joint.
Hmm.
So that's what I mean about when the people are just moving weight and they're not thinking of what they're trying to do. Again, we're taking away, we're putting ourselves in our Gen Pop heads here, not mine in your head and the other two guys on the call, because you think, but you don't have to think of it. Your body just does it. But I can guarantee you will think if you fucked up a rep. So if you
Yeah.
did do a rep that went right, the next rep you'll think about what you need to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
You'll
That's
understand what the goal is, won't you? You'll understand what you're trying to get out of the movement, and you'll probably just do it. Whereas these people aren't probably thinking like that at all, are they?
no.
The more experience you are, it requires much less effort, or the more skilled you are to think about it. The effort for thinking goes down drastically.
Do you know what I found though, mate? I think so. I agree with what all you're saying. But then I think the whole point of training is to create as much effort as you can. But that takes thought. So what I'm trying to say here, for example, let's take the hack squat, for example. I'm thinking of all these cues. Whilst I'm warming up, I'm thinking of all these cues that I want to use, whatever it may be. Internal rotation of the femur, full foot pressure, blah, 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 blah. But when I'm doing it, I don't think of the internal cues as much, but I'm thinking as much force into that platform as possible. That's my internal cue. I want as much force. I'm trying to drive as much as I can into that platform because I'm not going to fucking break the platform. So there has to be an opposing force coming back. And then when I'm on the concentric, I am pushing as hard as I can, which is fucking very hard to think of when you've got a shitload of weight. So this is the reason why I'm like, it's not disagreeing with you because you three are talking about something different to what I'm talking about because you're thinking of internal cues like drive your elbow down or whatever it may be to bias lats in a situation. But what I'm thinking of now is the handle's trying to pull me up. I'm going to pull the handle as hard as I can in the direction I want to pull it.
Hmm.
And then when the force is coming up the opposing way on the eccentric, for example, I'm making sure I control that with as much tension as I can.
Hmm.
And I think this is like another level. And by the way, I've been experimenting this for 3 weeks. I can't tell you where this come from, this thought process. It just come up in me to sleep or something like that. But I've been experimenting, and the ability to get more out of a rep has gone higher. But I'm also not going to put that down to why my heart rate's gone down. I think my heart rate's gone down because of this. But I also feel like I'm getting more out of my training because of this thought process. And I think
And
that's a difference.
how is that thought process translating to you training differently though?
Because when I would train, I'd be thinking of control in regards to controlling the eccentric, controlling the concentric, but instead of thinking where am I applying this force to? So what I'm trying
Hmm.
to say here is I think as you go through a training journey, especially when you're obsessed over it, you're always trying to you get better at something.
Hmm.
So we're always thinking of something.
Hmm.
We never just go in and go, lift weight, up, down,
Yeah. But the thing
big
you're thinking
squeeze,
about gets higher level and more advanced as you go.
because you're biased to what you think you need to improve.
Yeah. It's
So
like
I'll be
when we,
thinking, I was going to
sorry.
say, I'll be thinking of something else in 3 months.
Yeah, yeah. It's like when we were in EP the other week and was speaking to Josh about, okay, everyone thinks about, well, not everyone, anyone to a decent level of training thinks about retracting their scapula when they're doing it up back row. No one thinks about protracting their scapula at the
Yeah.
start of the eccentric on a upper back row. No one does that. And so when you first think about doing that and then try to do that, you will go, oh my God, my fucking back's fucked up. And you get DOMS the next day because you've been using your arms and then protracting at the end instead of actually using your upper back to initiate the eccentric. And so it's like that that small tiny shift, you can't even get access to even think about that until you've done all of the other levels before it.
Yeah.
And then as you get to that level of advancement, it's like, oh, well, no wonder your physique's fucking blown up because it's like you've already fucking done all of the foundational stuff, and now there's small fine details with the extra 1%. It doesn't yield 1% extra progress, it yields 40% extra progress over a period of time.
I think the beauty about what you've just said then, though, as well, is he would have still been doing the same movement, but the fact that and this is how cool the fucking brain is, by the way, the fact that now he is thinking about the action in which he needs to do, that's what's level up. So when he's going into that row on the eccentric, his scapula will be protracting.
Of course.
He have to protract. Otherwise, he would have stopped the range of movements where, and then he wouldn't have gone any further. But now the
100%.
fact that he is controlling the protraction of the scapula on the
Mhm.
eccentric and not flexing from the thoracic,
Mhm.
that's what's changed. Just his thought process, not the movements as such.
Mhm.
And that's where, again, I think there's just so much to this that we just cannot neglect.
Yeah.
Like, when people go, because they've been known you doing a concert course, and they go, yeah, I know all about training. It's like, you fucking don't.
Oh, mate,
It's like,
there's one
sit
thing
down,
that
shut
pisses me
up.
off. One thing that pisses me off when speaking to new clients, like, yeah, your training's fine. It's like, oh my God, oh my God. The first time you send a phone call through, I'm gonna have to rip you to shreds now, just
It,
your ego has to remove itself.
it's just like, because like I will say the stereotypical bodybuilder, like they look great, but I reckon they could all look better.
Yeah.
By the way, taking away the 1% of the 1%, so like One Punch Now who trains out at EP, you do what you need to do, mate. You're going to the Olympia and you're probably going to be top three, maybe even win it. You crack on. I'm going to say fuck all to you. But like for the majority of people who just go to the gym, and it's like you haven't cracked training. You haven't cracked training. You just like going to the gym,
Mhm.
Hmm.
which is fine. But don't say you know everything.
Yeah, no, not at all. I think
I
that's go on, Jake.
I still don't understand your point, Ali, around training. What's that? What is the point of what you just said?
Which part?
The specifically the part around training when you said you're just thinking about your hand coming down and then you're controlling the eccentric. I don't get what's different about that.
As
Like, what
opposed
is
to
this focus on this phase that you've got in training?
so what I'm trying to really focus on now, instead of thinking of internal cues of driving the lat down to the hip for the left foot, for example. Okay, there's a force that's pulling us in the opposite direction of what we're trying to pull,
Hmm.
and I'm trying to put as much force into that as opposed to how can I put it, as opposed to just thinking about that cue. So I'm really now focusing on the force that's opposing me, as opposed to just thinking about the cue I need to do. So for example, like the hack squat, I'm thinking about the force going into the platform.
Mm.
Because I think what happens with a lot of people, and myself included in this is why I like this thought process, is one, we don't initiate with the tissue we're trying to work, but also we don't keep tension on the tissue we're trying to work. But when we're always trying to fight against the force, but we're internally thinking about fighting against the force, it's hard then, for me anyway, specifically in this case, to then lose tension on the tissue I'm trying to work. Does that mean? And then it's easy for me to cue the tissue that I'm trying to work when I've already got that tension there.
Hmm.
So if we take like a preacher curl, for example, I think of driving tricep into the pad all the way forward, because that's a bracing point. But then when I'm at the bottom, because I'm driving my tricep into the pad and the tension, I haven't immediately rotated from the shoulder joint or I haven't changed my position in any way, shape, or form. It's so much easier for me to then start elbow flexion with just the bicep instead of me jolting or moving with momentum.
Yeah.
So this all makes sense in my head. I'm still trying to figure out how to talk about this to
Mhm.
everybody. If I'm being honest,
Oh,
just asked me a question. I'm just
no,
trying to
no,
figure it all out.
this is really good, Ali. I've mentioned a couple of times I've started doing a lot more one-on-one PT sessions. One of the things that I've noticed is just is like obviously we all know everyone has different internal cues that really click. Um, and what you're saying here about sort of like the understanding where to apply force and directly focusing on that. When someone's never done that before, it's tremendously impactful, and especially for someone like yourself who's built unbelievable skill level of all of the internal cues, such as with a lat, driving your elbow in the right plane and so on. If you then focus on driving force into the correct position, everything will fly. One question that came up in my brain today, okay, when I was coaching someone, we doing a lateral raise. And I just said to him, because I could just see it wasn't quite right. And I said to him, just pause there at the bottom. I want you to send a message from your brain to your delt and turn it on. And he turned it on, and then his delt, like I could see his delt contract, obviously. And then he started doing the reps. And he was like, oh my God, that was so much more stimulative. X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. His delt was fucked after it. Great. And then after it, I was like, okay, well, if I didn't say that, the rep was already good. It didn't look any different. There was nothing that was different about how he executed it visually. The only thing that was different is he sent a message from his brain to contract the delt harder. So the question that came up in my mind is, what if there was a parallel universe and I didn't say that? He would have objectively done more reps, okay? And they probably would have looked exactly the same. And so, which is better? Because I've asked him to create an internal cue to contract the muscle. And what has likely happened is he's activated more motor units because he has a high enough level of skill to be able to do so earlier than he would have otherwise if he didn't do that. And so, has that been the thing that's brought him closer to failure because he's intentionally turned them on and he's exhausted his bigger, more powerful motor units earlier? And if so, is that even beneficial? Versus if he would not have
Yeah.
done that and just done more reps.
So I'm going to say my argument is like I do think it's more beneficial. So I think what happens there is because you've got an ability now to bias the delt more, the other musculature around it is not helping as much as what it would be doing if you wasn't thinking of it.
Hmm.
So let's think of like let's take the lateral raise ultimate. Let's think of a more complicated movement like a hack squat.
Hmm.
Okay. If we put ourselves in a position where we can bias the quads as much as we can, but we don't think about biasing the quads, we don't think about knee extension at the bottom, for example, or driving through our toes so we can create a resultant line of force, you might be able to get an extra 3 or 4 reps. But we're not sure what helped you the most getting them 3 or 4 reps. Was it
Hmm.
more quad? Was it the glutes a little bit? Did we change the positions of like and put the force on a different part of our foot, which then is now biased another part? Like there's loads of nuance to this, isn't it? But if you actually think about what you're trying to do, you might have lost them 3 or 4 reps. But as again, because you've now recruited more motor units, you've activated more fibers, you fatigue quicker because it's all getting to that point of fatiguing it for quote unquote that effective reps.
Hmm.
You've got more of a response that you want from that. Because don't forget as well, so if he got 8 reps compared to 14 reps, he's got a result with 8 reps. So this is how much of a rabbit hole you want to go down. So he's got results at 8 reps. But then extra 6 reps that he might have got without that cue, that just now added more fatigue, but did it get any more delt growth?
Yeah,
Maybe not.
this is the way I think about all the time. It's like that's the one of the most beautiful nuances ever. It's like when people are just like, well, surely if I get more reps, then that's going to be better. But it's like if you can like when you see people like doing like 200 kilos on a leg press, for example, if you can pull them down to 100 kilos. Like the other day, one of the clients came in, she couldn't feel a glute bridge. She was doing 100 kilos on glute bridge. I pulled her down to 50, got her to think about friction and pulling the heels back a little bit and blah blah blah. A few cues, and all of a sudden glutes are lit up. She's flying. And it's like, oh my God, I can feel my glutes like I've never felt them before on 50 kilos as opposed to 100. She was like, oh, that's shit though. I feel dead weak. And I'm like, no, this is amazing because now your nervous system's got to handle half the load and you get more stimulus. Like, what a fucking massive win
But
that
also,
is.
you've got a massive runway for progression.
I think
Exactly.
you can keep repeating that process as well. So like your cue there that you've given for his side delts, for his side raises, I think in a few weeks' time or a few months' time, if you give him another cue I think you'll have that light bulb moment again. And
Hmm.
I think that will repeat. It's like when we train, Ali, it's like you're explaining now, you're now going through this process, but I know for a fact in another month or 2 months' time, you'll have a different process that you'll go through and that you'll be thinking of whilst training. And again, you'll have that light bulb moment where you think, I'm actually getting more out of my training. But again, it links back to that thing of always looking for the next piece of the puzzle. It's a continuum that you can continue to improve.
Yeah.
I think as well, mate, just to double down on what we're saying about your clients here, something that we mentioned earlier on the podcast was body always trying to find the path of least resistance.
Hmm.
Okay. So if you're not thinking about what you need to do, the body's going to lift that in the most efficient way possible. So you don't
Yeah.
know what's working.
Yeah.
The body just goes, okay, cool. I'm going to percentile put this load into these four muscles evenly. Actually, I'm actually going to put more 75 towards this muscle because this muscle's bigger,
Hmm.
use less energy. So again, when we then start to bias the things that we want to work, which again means that we have to potentially create more, but create a different angle for the tissue to work more, or we have to think about it more internally because the body wants to do something opposing to that. It's why again, less is more. Like less is more. Like I used to, when I was working with Cuba 3 years ago, I pulled 270 for 5 minute SLDL. Okay, I've not SLDL'd in probably coming to a year, right? My hamstrings and glutes and erectors, my erectors stay the same, but hamstrings and glutes come on.
Yeah.
But I am
All
using,
your check-in shots today, your glutes have fucking blown up.
but like I'm using less load, but I've just got better at training again.
Yeah.
And that's the constant progression. It's like if you look at how I train when I'm 20 to how I am now at 35, there is a mass difference, but not necessarily in load. I remember when I was in lockdown when I was with China, I remember I pulled 250 for four, right, on blocks on a block pull. My test levels apparently according to the blood lab, so take this as you wish, was four, right?
Oh,
Four, okay? Because my gear was probably black at the time, okay?
yeah.
But you can still say 4 or 5 years ago, whenever it was, whenever lockdown was, right? I was pulling 254. Mate, I don't reckon I can pull 250 now.
Yeah,
I think
for
I go,
sure.
fuck that. Joseph, right, just give me the 45-degree hip extension. Boom. And it's
Yeah.
like, I've just got better at being able to work the tissue that I want to be able to work. And that's what the skill sets of training is. When we do want to still achieve progressive overload, that's just not what I'm trying to say. Is like, my goal is to still press 4 plates in that Smith machine for 6 reps, but with the control of what I've got now.
Hmm. Absolutely.
And and that's how we do it. And another way you do it, right, is you need to get fucking bigger. This is something that people don't understand. It's like, no, the more you weigh, the more muscle mass you've got, the more load you can lift. So we all look at these bodybuilders, let's take people who are big, for example, like if, for example, One Punch Nas, right, goes, no, sort of like, fuck this, fuck the weight cap, right? I'm just gonna get as strong as I fucking can. Mate, he'll be the strongest person in EP, hands down.
Hmm.
He's got the most muscle I've ever seen in the frame.
Hmm.
If he just went, fuck this, I'm gonna go for whatever I want to do, I'm just gonna get as strong as I can. His
Hmm.
ability to grow would just mean that he'll be able to lift more load. So
Yeah,
the bigger you are, the more chance you've got of progressing that load of being able to get stronger as well.
of course. Absolutely. The one question I have then to wrap that point up is if it's therefore then beneficial to have internal cues for all of those reasons that we've just discussed, lower fatigue, higher accuracy, etc. At what point do you then prescribe people think about the continuum between internal cueing versus external cueing?
I don't like external cueing anymore for hypertrophy.
So if, for example, you had someone who, so let's take me for example, if I external cued bicep curls, I could probably curl 20s or whatever. And if I internal cued, it might be, let's say 15s,
Yeah.
maybe 12s, whatever, 12 and a halves. In what's more beneficial?
For the same conversation about the lateral raise. That's
No,
what I think.
I agree with you by the way on this. I'm just
Yeah,
saying
no,
that.
but that I think that
Would you
I
say
think
that
it's the same.
that's beneficial?
It's the same conversation. That's what I mean. It's like I think that the ability to get more out of less because
Hmm.
you're not taking because again it's a whole path of least resistance. And by the way, like look, you can still get bigger. So if you just carried on killing the 20s and then you went to 22s, that bicep will inevitably go because you're doing elbow flexion, right? But also
Hmm.
your front delt might go because you're now lifting your arm up in the same process. Your
Hmm.
arm's coming away from the pad, so you're doing a bit of shoulder flexion as well within that. So maybe your anterior delt grows a little bit, do
Hmm.
you know what I mean, within the process. But it's not all about this fatigue shit because fucking people are going way down a rabbit hole with it. Oh my God, I can't do sets of failure because I'm going to die and I'm going to have 10 hours sleep now to counteract that set of failure. That's a load of bollocks, right? But I don't think you need to deload.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think your volume should be managed in such a way, and this is another conversation for another day because it'll just be another half an hour fucking added onto this podcast. But I think your volume should be managed in such a way that you can recover from it, you can
Mhm.
sleep, and you can keep training.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I agree. I think going back to the point is like one of the ways I think about it where if you were to do a 20 kilo bicep curl, for example, and you do start using your front delt and blah blah, even if the actual moment arm is the same as with 12.5 but done more accurately, or the internal tension created, the way I think about it is if there's a smaller gap between fatigue generated and stimulus generated, or a worse ratio, let's say,
Yeah.
that the actual growth and adaptation will be less, so therefore you have plateaus sooner.
Yes,
And so
I agree.
in that sense, in that way, it's better to shift more towards internal cueing and also just bring the same level of aggression at the same time, which I think is the hard thing, is can you be internally cued whilst also relative okay, maybe we differ on this because you're saying people don't be aggressive, but like the sweet spot of I call it calm aggression with
Yeah.
internal cueing and just obsession with getting stronger on a week-to-week basis. I think if you have all of those things, it's hard to go wrong.
Joe, I'll challenge everyone who listens to this podcast, right? Okay. Do a contraction for 10 reps of a muscle group. Just do a single joint and tell me you've kept the you've felt every part of the contraction and the concentric. I can guarantee you won't. At some point you'll have lost attention.
Well, just the concentric.
Yeah, like because we all control the eccentric, don't we? Like I'm just assuming that part there. But you know, like when you're actually doing the concentric. So if you do a preach kill, for example, and you're in this position, you're doing that, okay?
Yeah.
You can feel it at every single point. Bet you don't. I bet you go. Feel it there, don't feel it there, feel it there. They'll lose it at some point. But you know when you as I said before, you know, you've got that skill set to feel the concentric the whole way through, and you make that 12.5 really, really hard the whole way through. And by the way, we're still talking about 12.5 in the preach kill here. We're not talking about 2.5. We're still talking about substantial amount of load that's going to be half of the bicep to use. So again, it's that whole point of getting the most out of the least. Like, why the fuck would I want to lift 25 kilo dumbbells if I could lift 20 kilo dumbbells and get the same response? It means I have to walk further down the freaking the
Mhm.
fucking rack.
But then you look hard as fuck to everyone on Instagram and in the rest of the gym, and then
Yeah,
like everyone will give
yeah,
you
no
loads
way,
of
but don't
respect.
look boss man, don't you turn around, you fucking got lines in your glutes because you're
Yeah,
fucking healed. I don't give a shit what you lift. No, like that's fucking impressive.
agreed, agreed. Should we wrap it there, guys?
Yeah, also, I will caveat this though. Do you know if you love training externally and you find internal training boring, keep doing external.
Yeah,
One example of an external cue, just in case.
Pushing the bar to the sky, pushing the bar to the ceiling if you're doing a bench press.
Cool.
So you're not thinking internally what's happening in the body, you think about things around you in which you can utilize.
Yes. Yeah.
move that bar, move that handle,
Yeah,
whatever. Um, right, guys. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.
cool.